This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information about ICOM radios.
It's Ham Radio.
Hey, good evening, everyone. It's time for Ham Talk Live, episode number 258. It's the 2021 Hurricane Net show, recorded live on Thursday, May the 6th, 2021. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight, we're joined by Bobby Graves, KB5HAV, Julio Ripoll, WD4R, Rob Macedo KD1CY, and Lloyd Colston, KC5FM, and we'll take your calls live later in the show. Last week, Connor Dickey, KD5LSV, was here to talk about the Bradley University Amateur Radio Club. If you missed that show, you can listen anytime at hamtalklive.com or on your favorite podcast app or YouTube. And don't forget, you can catch the rebroadcast on WTWW every Saturday afternoon at about 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and the frequency for WTWW is 5085 AM. So get your Skywarn and hurricane preparedness questions ready to go. If you're listening to us live on Thursday night, you can give us a call after the interview by telephone, and here is the number, and we'll give that out a few more times before it's time to call, but we'll give you the number so you can have it ready to go. It's 859-982-7373. Again, 859-982-7373. 7373. If you have a question, give us a call tonight later on in the show. You can also tweet us whenever you like at Ham Talk Live, or you can type into the comments on Spreaker, and we'll see those on the screen here as well as we go throughout the evening. And we'll do that with Bobby, Julio, Rob, and Lloyd right after this word from ICOM America right here on Ham Talk Live. The great outdoors is calling. Get outside and under the stars with one of ICOM's ultimate SDR transceivers. Stay connected while off the grid. The IC705 is the perfect transceiver for hams who enjoy both the great indoors and outdoors. It's the perfect QRP companion. This base station has features and functionality at the tip of your fingers in a portable package, covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters, and weighs in at just under 2 pounds. It has a 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall, 5 watts out with a battery, 10 watts with a power supply, single sideband, CW AM FM, and full D-Star functions, micro USB connector, Bluetooth, wireless LAN, and micro SD card slot, and integrated GPS with antenna and GPS locker. The perfect accessory is the optional backpack, with a special compartment for your IC705 and room for accessories for soda activations or a day in the park. Visit the IC705 webpage to view accessories and free software available for download. Or create your own band opening with the IC9700. This transceiver brings direct sampling to the UHF-VHF weak signal world. This all-mode transceiver is loaded with innovative features that are sure to keep you busy. It has a 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall, smooth satellite operation with 99 satellite channels, dual watch operation, and full duplex operation in satellite mode. Visually sees the VHF-UHF world with ICOM's IC9700. Heard it, worked it, logged it. ICOM's IC7300 is a high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design that will far exceed your expectations. This innovative HF transceiver digitizes RF before the various receiver stages to reduce the generated inherent noise in different IF stages. The IC7300 is the radio that changed the way entry-level HF is designed. It has 15 discrete bandpass filters and that large 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall. The real HF fun starts here. Visit ICOMAmerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
Ham Talk Live is on your side with traffic and weather together on the 8s.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. Thanks to ICOM America for sponsoring the show. Check them out at ICOMAmerica.com/amateur online and check out their fine products. We welcome you back to Ham Talk Live tonight. Bobby Graves, KB5HAV, Julio Ripoll, WD4R, Rob Macedo KD1CY, and Lloyd Colston, KC5FM. Join us on the Orlando Amateur Radio Club and Hamcation Zoom line. Bobby is the net manager for the Hurricane Watch Net. He's held that position since 2013, and he now lives in Starkville, Mississippi. And Julio is the assistant coordinator for WX4NHC, the National Hurricane Center amateur radio station, and he lives in Miami, Florida. Rob Macedo is the director of operations for the Voice over IP Hurricane Net, and since 2004 he's also been involved with the VoIP Skywarn Hurricane Net that supports WX4NHC, and he's in Bedford, Massachusetts. And Lloyd Colston, KC5FM, is the public information officer for the Voice over IP Hurricane Net. He's been a net control for the Hurricane Net since 2004, and he is now in Arkansas City, Kansas. So, guys, welcome back to the show, and thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
Well, it's getting about that time. And so we need to talk about some hurricane preparedness, and that's what we want to take a look at tonight. And of course, COVID-19 does not stop hurricanes. You'd think we could just handle one tragedy at a time, but no, it doesn't work that way. So, Lloyd, what should hams do to prepare to participate in these hurricane nets?
Well, first off, they should be prepared for not only their well-being, but their family. You can't help someone if you're distracted by the goings-on in Ark City, Kansas. So prepare locally to take care of yourself. Then prepare your station to talk to Bobby and other people doing disaster communications. But more importantly, the people that you're talking to, be in a position to help them, give them information, timely information that is accurate information, so that they can take care of themselves as well.
Yeah, you always make sure you have some supplies and you're ready first, because you don't want to be out in the middle of something and have to run back home. So always take care of yourself, and then we can talk about deployment or whatever the case may be. Although with the hurricanes, a lot of times it's just sending in the report. So we'll talk about that as we go along. COVID-19 also changes planning and training. And I know there's always the big seminar of hurricane preparedness and the hurricane forecast and everything that happens each year. So what changes have taken place because of the pandemic? How has that changed the quote unquote normal routine of training and preparing?
locally and statewide and regionally and nationwide, emergency managers in those 3 zones have adapted virtual operations, such as I just finished a deployment to the virtual Pacific Northwest working COVID plans. So there you have the one example of how things have changed. Yes, you need to have boots on turf, giving shots to people, but the planning section doesn't have to be necessarily boots on turf. They can be virtual, planning the various operations. Going into deeper, someone living in a hurricane zone should have a plan, a disaster plan, for when they have to evacuate from a hurricane. Where are you going to go? How are you going to live? Do you have 72 hours stock of food, supplies, medicine to get you through? And I say 72 hours. Rarely do you need more than 72 hours. But in those rare occasions, you might have to have a week's worth, even for power outages in Oklahoma. We saw that this year. So make your plan. Practice a plan. Go on a vacation and take your supply kit with you and see if it works. And if you're going to evacuate for COVID, where are you going to go? Are the hotels COVID welcoming, or are you going to have to sleep in a park in a tent while a hurricane passes your home and you're in Smoky Mountains of Kentucky?
Yeah, all good information, and you just don't know. You have to prepare for the unpreparable, and you don't always know what's going to happen. So I'm not sure who wants to take this one. This is probably the one that takes the biggest leap of faith here. What are we predicting for this hurricane season? What are the meteorologists saying? Bobby, you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. It's probably the $65 million question. As I've always loved to say, about the time we think we have Mother Nature figured out, she always loves to change her mind. Who would have ever thought that 2020 would have been sort of a repeat of 2005 with the number of storms we had? 30 storms in one season. I thought 2005 was 28 was plenty. But right now, a few weeks ago, there was some updates as far as from the National Hurricane Center of changing their yearly average. Right now, they're going to start going by the yearly average, going from 1991 to 2020, with an average total named storms of 14, 7 of those being hurricanes, with 3 of those becoming a Category 3 or stronger. On April 8th, Dr. Philip Glocksback out at Colorado State made his first prediction for this season, calling for another active season, calling for 17 named storms, 8 to become hurricanes, with 4 of those becoming a Cat 3 or stronger. Tropical storm risk, which is, I think, is a group over in Europe, on the April 13th, it's basically got the same forecast, 17, 8, but they're calling for 3 Category 3 or stronger hurricanes. NOAA will be making their first predictions a little bit later on this month. But bottom line, whether we have 17, 5, or even 1, just remember, we go back to what it was 1992. There was only 1 landfalling hurricane that season. That was Andrew. And that was more than plenty. So
yes, it was.
So, and I know Julio can attest to that because he got hammered. So, yes, prepare, we always like to say, hope for the best, but prayer for the worst.
Yeah, and Julio, I think you were going to chime in there, so go ahead. You're there in Miami, so you're probably hearing this on the news every night.
Oh, you bet, Neil. And Bobby was very accurate saying that it only takes one bad hurricane to ruin your year. And mine was 1992 Hurricane Andrew that ripped half the roof off my house, and about 300,000 other homes in South Florida suffered major damage. I mean, it took more than 6 months for me to rebuild my house, and many places never really recovered. But anyway, I just wanted to do a real quick recap on what WX4NHC did for 2020 with the Hurricane Center. And 2020 was the nightmare scenario that no one could imagine, a pandemic worse than the last 100 years, and then a record-breaking hurricane season, with the 30 named storms, 13 hurricanes, 6 major hurricanes, and 12 of them actually hitting the U.S. Mainland. So it was the first year ever in 40 years that we worked hurricanes and we were not inside the Hurricane Center. That was a complete change that, didn't surprise everybody because we had COVID since March, but we had to retool every which way we could to not only gather reports, but how to report and submit them in for review by the hurricane specialists there. So we set up this whole network with the Hurricane Center's help. And let me tell you, our director, Ken Graham, WX4KEX, is fantastic. And he understands ham radio very well. And he has his Yaesu handheld right there on his desk in the Hurricane Center. But we work virtually from our home stations the entire season, and we actually did very well. And we got reports, hundreds of reports through all the hurricanes. And sometimes we had old WX4NHC operators that have moved out of Miami area, so they thought they could never help again, and they were working from the Virgin Islands and as far north as Delaware, and they were able to relay the stations through, from the Hurricane Watch Net, from the VoIP Hurricane Net, and even Echolink and all these other modes all the way through. So with no surprise, 2021 season, because COVID is still active, very active here in South Florida, we're going to be working remotely again. Back to you, Neil.
Yeah, it's it makes you it makes you improvise, and I guess that's a good thing for preparation. But it's I'm sure you'd be more comfortable doing what you had originally trained for, and that's to be on site. But thankfully, us hams are innovative, and we adapt to what's going on. So thanks for all of your work on that. Well, Rob, let's talk about the different ways that hams can connect to this. And you're in Massachusetts, so you're not exactly, in the direct line of fire, but yet you're dealing with the hurricane net. So let's talk a little bit about how hams, wherever they are, can help and participate in the hurricane nets. And I'll let you take the voice over IP side, since that's your thing.
Yeah, so few things. So number one, here in Massachusetts, like you say, we're, certainly not getting them like Florida and the Gulf Coast, et cetera, but we can get tropical systems and even landfalling hurricanes in our area. Now, it's been a while. It'll be 30 years in August 19th. When we get to August 19th, 2021, it'll be 30 years since the last landfalling hurricane in southern New England, which was Hurricane Bob in 1991. And that name was retired because of the amount of damage that it did. Where I live, I had not moved here yet, but in New Bedford, Massachusetts, it was near the landfall point. It was on the northeast corridor of Hurricane Bob, and was one of the hardest hit areas of southern New England from that hurricane. We've had some close brushes in the last 30 years, but they were always tropical storms or not quite making landfall. Hurricane Edward in 96 was 100 miles off the coast of Nantucket. It brought hurricane force conditions to Nantucket, but just tropical storm force conditions in southeast New England. And then you fast forward into more recent times, we had Tropical Storm Irene in 2011. Hurricane Sandy, despite being way down in New Jersey, brought hurricane force wind gusts into southern New England, particularly Rhode Island and southeast Massachusetts, with some of the worst storm surge flooding since Hurricane Bob in 2012. And then last year we got a pretty strong brush from then Tropical Storm Isaias, which made landfall as a hurricane in eastern North Carolina. We had quite a bit of wind damage and power outages, especially in western Mass and Connecticut, but pockets of damage and wind gusts over 60 miles an hour here in eastern Massachusetts as well. So we can get tropical systems here, but certainly not as frequently as Julio and folks down south. So with that, part of our reason for getting involved was to have that connection with Julio and team in that scenario if we had hurricane force conditions or a hurricane directly making landfall with our area. So a number of us got involved, and with Echo Link and IRLP, not only can we have folks here in New England, we've had people from as far away as Australia. Our technical coordinator, VK3JED, Tony Langdon, has in the past taken net control during the overnight shift when it's during his daytime. And he's also brought some technical skills to bear. So for the first time in a number of years, Tony was more involved this year, more on the technical side, allowing us to connect. Lloyd has helped us quite a bit as well in this area, connecting up modes like All-Star and Fusion and DMR, et cetera. Tony took it to kind of a further level, working with his own resources and coordinating with Lloyd and some of his efforts that he had done. And we actually were able to connect all the modes in on our network. So having DMR and D-Star and All-Star and Fusion, and there were others, all in on our system at the same time during some of the landfalling hurricanes in September and October. So kind of bringing all the other VoIP modes to bear. So what's nice about these modes, right, is when they're available, because certainly, if you look at a couple of the hurricanes we had, it's not going to allow VoIP and the internet to be up. But in the areas where it's available, or if it's available close enough to the affected area so that you can have direct RF to the area and then bring it up through the VoIP nets, it's worked out pretty well. We've been able to add those modes in, and we can have people from all across the globe help during activations. They don't have to be on the U.S. East Coast or near the affected area. It could be a system in Florida or the Caribbean islands, and people in Massachusetts can help, people in California can help, people in Australia or Europe could help in certain scenarios. So it can kind of bring an international radio response to hurricanes using the VoIP modes when they're available or available close enough to the areas hardest hit. So that's some of the things that we're able to bring from VoIP standpoint.
Okay, and Bobby, you want to talk about on HF again? How can people connect to the hurricane nets? Where can they find you, and what can they do?
Yeah, real fine. Yeah, you mentioned the COVID a while ago. COVID doesn't stop hurricanes. Well, for a number of years, folks may remember that the Hurricane Watch Net was just strictly a 20-meter only net. When we were on 20 meters, we operated on 14.325. But when I became net manager back in 2013, the first thing I did is I turned us into a 24-hour net when needed to be. Because there again, storms don't care about the time. They don't care about COVID. They don't care about whatever. Mother Nature's going to do what she wants to do. So what we're doing is working 14.325 during the daytime, 72.68 on 40 meters at nighttime. And when band conditions warrant, which past few years conditions listed, to be honest, on 20, it's not been that good. There's been times we've been having to operate both bands simultaneously, but thankfully we've got a large group of members covering a good portion of the eastern part of the United States. We have members across, might as well say 8 countries. We got no here in the United States, but we have some up in Canada, Bermuda, Honduras, Venezuela, Aruba. And we're looking towards to expanding our group even further west as propagation changes. So, but that's where you can find us at. And also, if you're not able to listen in or hear what's going on, we also have on our website at hwn.org. We do have some links for some streaming audio. There's some various groups have allowed us to have links to their receivers so they can be able to hear what's actually going on the air on whichever band we happen to be operating on.
Okay, very good. Well, for those of you out there who can listen and participate, if you have the ability, listen and then listen. And you never know when you might be called upon to chime in and give some reports or take care of who knows what. So give both of these nets a listen on HF, on VoIP, and help out wherever you can. All right. Well, we're going to take a break right now. And when we come back, Lloyd's going to talk to us about a special celebration that's coming up. So we'll talk about that and take your calls live at 859-982-7373. So I'll be back with this Skywarn panel tonight right after this word from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live.
Hey, honey, have you seen the PL259s anywhere?
No, I haven't. Come on, kids. Let's go.
There's just one place to go for all of your connector needs.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
A giant warehouse of connectors and adapters for every occasion. Thousands to choose from in every shape, size, and color. And they have antennas, soldering supplies, cables, meters, and more. Where do you go if you want to buy a connector at a fraction of retail cost?
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
And this weekend only, take advantage of our special liquidation sale. Buy 9 solder-type PL259s, get the 10th one for just $1 penny. They make great Christmas presents. And what better way to say I love you than with the gift of a PL259?
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
I'm Scott, KB9AMM of Tower Electronics. I like the PL259 connectors so much, I bought the company.
Tower Electronics, coming to a Hamfest near you, or online at pl-259.com. And we're in the yellow pages under Amateur Radio Connectors.
My, wherever did you get that lovely PL259?
Tower Electronics, pl-259.com, or call 920-435-2973.
Do we sell PL259 connectors?
Nominations are now open for the Amateur Radio Newsline Bill Pasternak WA6ITF Young Ham of the Year Award. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. Since 1986, we've had the honor of celebrating the accomplishments of youth in ham radio, and we want to know about your exceptional young ham. You'll find the rules and a nominating form by clicking the YHOTY tab on arnewsline.org. Fill it out, send it in, and we'll see you and an amazing young ham at the Huntsville, Alabama Ham Fest in August. Thanks, and 73 from Amateur Radio Newsline.
Join the conversation. Give us a call at 859-982-7373. Again, the number to call is 859-982-7373. Or, if you'd rather type than talk, tweet us at Ham Talk Live. Now, here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live. Right now, you could be sitting on a beach, sipping a drink with an umbrella in it, and enjoying the good life. But instead, you've decided to listen to Ham Talk Live. So we thank you. And now here's Neil Rapp with more of the show.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. Thanks to Tower Electronics for sponsoring the show. They bring you Ham Talk Live every week. Coming up on the Hamfest calendar, they do have a couple in June. Newberry, Michigan, June 12th. Monroe, Michigan, June 20th. Or visit pl-259.com. Ham Talk Live is on the air every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here on hamtalklive.com. And be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And before we get back to the Skywarn crew here, it's time for the Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week.
Now it's time for the Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week, the part of the show where Rick tells us a ham radio joke. The Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week is brought to you by QRM Labs. Now, here's Rick Garrett in 9GSU with today's Ham Talk Live Joke of the Week.
I fell asleep on a big stack of QST magazines last night. I woke up with back issues.
This has been the Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week with Rick Garrett in 9GSU. Tune in again next week for another joke from Rick.
So that's why I keep waking up with back issues. Thank you, Rick, and we'll hear from Rick again next time. But right now, it's time for your call. So if you have a question for our Hurricane Net experts, give us a call right now. Now is the time to call. 859-982-7373. Or you can tweet us. It's at Ham Talk Live. And if you're listening to us on WTWW or on the podcast edition, you won't be able to reach us because we're doing this live on Thursday night. Lloyd, you mentioned a special anniversary celebration coming up. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, who doesn't remember the movie Twister? Who? Now, that movie, if you had been alive back then, 25 years ago, that movie was produced 25 years ago, and it started out showing what it was like 25 years before, with the different technology that was in place back then. My blog at kst5fm.blogspot.com, this week I took the movie 25 years later and retrace the steps of what the Weather Enterprise has become now. Now, the movie Twister Museum, the Twister the Movie Museum in Waukeeta, Oklahoma, is celebrating 25 years of that movie, May the 15th at 10 o'clock. So come to Waukeeta, get your all bags packed. I checked the forecast for Waukeeta on the 15th. It's going to be partly cloudy and about 85. So come on, enjoy some sun and that movie Twister Museum 25th anniversary.
Cow. Another cow. All right. Well, there you go. Waukeeta, Oklahoma.
Yes, the movie was actually filmed there. They did some major destruction to the place, and the movie people rebuilt it, and Waukeeta got a kind of a facelift out of the job.
All right. Well, there you go. So it's time for Twister. I was just telling the guys before the show, I was just hooking up the surround sound at the new place, and we decided that we needed to test it out, so we pulled out Twister and got the surround sound going, and it sounded pretty good. So there you go. Well, we've got a couple of other things to talk about here, and Julio, let's go over to you because I know you've got some things that people can participate in as well.
Well, yes, we're going to be doing our annual station test on May 29th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't ask me about Zulu. I'd have to bring out my calculator. And we'll be doing as many modes as possible because remember, we're working remotely. but we'll definitely be doing HF, VoIP. We'll have an hour on the VoIP net that Rob will run, basically a formal net, which is a good practice for everybody to get in there, check it, and we'll exchange a report. And we'll be handling WinLink. And also throughout Florida, we have a system called SARNet, SARNET, which are a combination of, I think they are up to 28 repeaters that are UHF all the way from the Florida Keys down south to the Capitol up north in Tallahassee. Mostly EOCs are all interconnected. So we'll be on that as well. So I invite everybody to participate. It's just an informal event, just to check out equipment and signal reports and things like that. And one other thing about the 2020 season, how much it was challenging working remotely and learning new things. Well, one of the things we learned was after we used up all 21 names of hurricanes and went to the Greek alphabet, and we learned that Zeta comes before Eta and Iota comes after Theta. Okay.
That is true. That is true.
It's not even in alphabetical order, but it is in Greek.
Yeah, and it's all Greek to me. So there you go.
That's right.
All right. And Rob, we ran down what you can do, but we didn't give all the locations of all of those nodes. So take it away, Rob.
Yeah, so, mainly, so we will be shifting to weekly with the VoIP Hurricane Prep Net, which meets on, it'll be weekly starting on the first Saturday in June. It'll be weekly through June through November at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 0000 hours UTC. On the star WX_talk star Echolink conference node 7203 IRLP 9219 system. And then during activations, we plan to bring in a lot of the various modes, All-Star, DMR, Brandmeister, P25, YSF, D-Star, Fusion, etc. through some of the efforts of Tony, VK3JED. And then there's always listen-only capability when we're doing activations. We're also always interested in getting net controls. So if you're interested, you can email me at KD1CY@VoIPWX.net, and we can see about getting you signed up for the net as needed. As Julio mentioned, we'll be on for the communications test. We'll get with him on the time window, and we'll always a pleasure to have them on for the communications test, and we've always worked with them as well during the Sky One Recognition Day event in December as well. So just a few comments there about where our net meets, both during activations and during regular nets. And again, we can use all folks. And also, if there's hams, for example, you might be in Nebraska or you might be in New York, but you may have relatives or family or no other hams in the affected area of hurricanes. If you know folks and you can get them to provide you information and reports and any pictures, etc. of the damage and whatever, that is very helpful to us as well to get that into the hands of Julio, so to relay to the forecasters and the Hurricane Center, because from both the Hurricane Watch Net and our net, there have been a number of times during the course of the last hurricane season where our reports go right into the Hurricane Center advisories and updates, and credit amateur radio for the support. So this data it helps the forecasters with the warning process, and it gets us credit for performing a great public service.
All right, so that's how you can participate, and you can also participate by calling 859-982-7373 right now. And we have some tweets and some comments to get to, so we'll get to those in just a second. But if you want to give us a call, that's the phone number, 859-982-7373. 982-7373. Well, first of all, my friend Andy, AA0WX, is listening tonight, and he's in Florida. He just bounces around all over the place and says, say hi to Rob for me. And he ran relay from Puerto Rico for Hurricane Matthew into Florida, and spent many hours last year on both 20 and 40 meter hurricane watch nets. And so we appreciate all of your work, Andy, and we know especially of all your work down in Puerto Rico. So thank you for that. All right, let's see. We've got a tweet, but we have a call on the line right now. So let's go to the phones. Good evening. Welcome to Ham Talk Live.
Good evening, my friends. My name is Eddie Mashevich, and my call sign is Kilo Bravo 3. Yankee Romeo uniform, and I live up here in Perryopolis, Fayette County in southwestern Pennsylvania, about 30 miles south of Pittsburgh. And we've been listening to the Hurricane Watch Net for quite a few years. I am the area's emergency coordinator for Fayette County here in southwestern PA, and also I'm in charge of 9 counties in Southwest PA for the Southwest District Skywarn Group. And we are under the direction of the National Weather Service office in Pittsburgh. And what we do is we conduct our SETs with weather-related emergency-type scenarios. And this coming October will be our fall one, and we're actually going to be including tropical storms into the area. And I would like to see if there was a way you guys could participate, or maybe give like a group talk or something to one of our Skywarn Zoom meetings.
All right. Lloyd, do you want to take that one?
I'd be happy to. If you shoot me an email, kc5fm@arrl.net, kc5fm@arrl.net. We'll try to help you out.
Okay. That's KC one again, please.
KC5. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, KC5FM, Kilo Charlie 5, Foxtrot Mike, at arrl.net, or you can email Rob, Kilo Delta 1 Charlie Yankee KD1CY at arrl.net as well.
Okay, thank you very much. And you guys do a fantastic job. And we try to get our guys from up here to contact you gentlemen down there for your station test.
And Julio, you want to jump in there too?
Sure thing. Well, if you need any input from the folks down at the Hurricane Center, you can also look at our website, wx4nhc.org, or send us an email at wx4nhc.org, and we'll try to help out as well.
Okay. Sounds good, gentlemen, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you very much for your support in Skywarn in Pennsylvania, and thanks for calling in tonight. Appreciate it.
Well, I've been doing this 49 years, coming up on 50 as a Skywarn storm spotter.
There you go. And you're still here to talk about it, so that's a good thing.
I'm still here to talk about it. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's go to Twitter here. We have Chris, W4NRG, and Chris says, obviously hurricanes bring huge winds. What antennas are the best for getting through these storms? Something indoors? Something on the ground? What's your, or tie the dipole tight in the trees? What's the recommendation for antennas in hurricane force winds? Anybody want to take that one?
I can talk a little bit about that, Neil. I've been through several hurricanes here in Miami. all the way from 1965 with Betsy that cut our house in half when I was a kid. So as far as antennas and what we use at the Hurricane Center and what we've experienced with, the wire antennas have a higher rate of survivability because they flex. And we have triple backup at the Hurricane Center, where we would have our main dipole on a 100-foot tower. Let's say we get the worst scenario, we get a Cat 5 like Andrew come through, takes everything out, including our towers and our verticals and our beam antennas. Our last resort is we actually have a long wire antenna with a portable antenna tuner that, let's say the whole thing comes down, we can put that out in a matter of a few minutes and we're back on HF. And so that's what we recommend is wire antennas. Every other antenna, and we have specially designed antennas that are rated at 150 mile per hour winds. But still, things bend, things break. Wires, they flex and fly and do pretty well, even though they don't have a lot of gain. But sometimes you just need to get the signal out.
Okay, and Andy, AA0WX, says the same thing, wire. Very easy to replace and cheap. So there you go. Probably not a huge HF Yagi, although those are nice for all the other times. But those things can really twist around. So there are some ideas, Chris. So thank you for writing in, and appreciate you taking time to listen tonight and join us. So, well, guys, we've filled up the time. We're out of time here. We could go on and on all night, but any last comments here? We'll just go around the horn again. Any final words? Let's go with Bobby first.
Yeah, real fine. First off, thanks for inviting us on here tonight, Neil. A couple of quickies. There's been a couple of changes from the Hurricane Center this year. Julio mentioned about the Greek alphabet. With all the confusion, especially last year, this is the last year last year was the last year they'll be using the Greek alphabet. If we run out of letters, they'll actually create a new set of names to use to instead of using the Greek alphabet starting this year. Also, starting next Saturday, May the 15th, the National Hurricane Center will actually start issuing the tropical weather outlook for the Atlantic and Eastern Pacific. Generally, the tropical weather outlook, it doesn't start being posted until June the 1st when the actual Atlantic hurricane season starts. But due to the past few seasons with some early season storms, they decided to go ahead and start on the 15th of May, start posting the tropical weather outlook. And if there happens to be any storms, then, also advisories as well. And if you want to get those via email, we have that on our website, hwn.org. Have a link on the left-hand side for a weather email. And for those that may want to sign up to become a net control operator, there's a link on that left-hand side called net control information.
All right. And Lloyd?
I would advise folks in the United States especially, if you are not weather aware in your locale, find your local National Weather Service warning forecast office. You can go to weather.gov, type your zip code in the search box, and it will bring you the weather forecast office that serves your location for that zip code. Become friends with them. They can save your life. They literally can save your life with watches, warnings, preparedness information. Get to know them, make them your buddy, and then help us with Bobby, with Hurricane Watch Net, or the VoIPWX.net. Help us help other people be safe during hurricanes. And thank you for having us on.
All right, Julio?
Well, I would like to stress for everybody to please volunteer. You don't need to be in a hurricane-affected area to volunteer. We've had relay stations as far north as Canada become vital in relaying reports from like Bermuda that we could not hear down here in Florida or anywhere else. We've had stations like in St. Lucia that were able to talk to Grenada on 40 meters HF that we couldn't hear, and then go back on VoIP and relay the report. So no matter what, you can become a very vital station and relay things firsthand, secondhand, thirdhand, and the message still gets all the way down to the Hurricane Center. So please volunteer. Your report might be the most important report. Thank you.
All right. And Rob, I guess you're getting the final word tonight.
Well, again, I want to thank you for having us, and it's always great to hear Bobby and Julio and Lloyd be with us. I think I just want to echo what Julio said, volunteer. There's definitely different ways to help being a control operator. If you've got friends, relatives, other hams that are in affected areas of hurricanes and you maintain contact with them during hurricanes, getting them their reports and sending them in to us can be vital to the warning process, and it gives credit to amateur radio for performing a great public service. Check in on the WX4NHC communications test Saturday, May 29th. Check in with us on the VoIP Hurricane Prep Net. We'll be weekly starting the first Saturday in June at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 0000 hours UTC. And if you're on HF and can relay reports into the Hurricane Watch Net to Bobby and team, be sure to do that as well. Many different ways to get the information out and stay involved. And also, I'll give a quick shout out to volunteer with your local Skywarn program, because they're also active during tropical systems that don't quite get to hurricane strength but have the threats of severe weather and flooding that can be hazards at a local regional level for local regional Skywarn activations. So thanks for having us tonight, Neil, and hope to hear some of you on the air, but hopefully not too much if we have impending hurricanes during this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. And that is a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. Thanks to Bobby Graves, KB5HAV, Julio Ripoll, WD4R, Rob Macedo, KD1CY, and Lloyd Colston, KC5FM, and everyone out there in cyberspace for listening and calling in, typing in. And I invite you back next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, when Greg Lappin, N9GL, and Dan Brown, W1DAN, will be here to talk about the new FCC RF exposure policy. And for a list of all of our upcoming guests, visit hamtalklive.com. And if you like Ham Talk Live, please leave a review wherever you listen. That helps other people find us faster. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.
Well, you came right back to my CQ call. Your readability 5 and strength 9. You never once mentioned your weather at all, and I didn't mention mine.